Hello and welcome back to Exeter City for the final season. FM23 is on the horizon all of a sudden. So yeah, one final season, probably slightly shorter. We're going to get straight into this. We're going to play a couple of games, do the transfer window news so far. So let's get you caught up. I'm starting on the non-spoiler window of Aaron Martin, whose transfer away was pre-warned by me. They bought him for a baffling 14 million. He's priced at an even more baffling 26 to 30 million. But first, just need to talk about how this is going to work. So yeah, we're in October now, and the beta is probably going to be out somewhere at the very end of October. There's not a lot of weeks left, so what's going to happen is there's going to be this episode and then 4 more episodes in this last season. One around December time in-game, one after the January transfer window, one probably in the March area, and then one at the end of the season, depending on what we're involved in. Obviously, with what we've won already, if you've not watched previous episodes, links in the description below. But if you've not watched, but based on what we've won already, FA Cup, a bit of a priority still yet to get that one. And of course, the Premier League, which has eluded us so far. I'd have loved to have done more seasons, but it is what it is, and we move on. Not going to announce my beta plans either yet, just for the time being. Just know that I have them. So that's how it's going to work. There's going to be 5 episodes in the regular spots. If I need to do extra just to bring the narrative a little bit more clearly, then I will do extra episodes. But basically, this will all be wrapped up within the next 2 weeks in preparation for FM23. I don't know what's happened. It was September yesterday, suddenly it's October, and everything is immediately tomorrow, and it's terrifying. Aaron Martin went for a baffling amount of money. He's priced even more baffling there. Literally in the days before his transfer was officially put through, his physical showed a lot of angry red down arrows, so timed that well. I mean, I love you, Aaron, but yeah. We'd sort of preempted his inevitable departure at the end of this season, or end of last season, with Szymanski taking over the set pieces and with Stuart Smith coming in at left back to sort of eventually take over that role. So naturally, that plan went immediately out the window, and I sold Thierry Small. Yeah, he hates big games, is inconsistent on his cons list, and his bravery isn't great either. Apparently he's prone to a yellow card with a competitive streak as well. Basically, it's 4 very bad things to have as a defensive left-back in particular, but as a defender, they are 4 very bad things to have. He wasn't exactly terrible. He wasn't great the first season, and he was okay the second season. Last 2 seasons, he was pretty decent and actually basically put in exactly the same performance both years. 18 appearances, 2 assists, player of the match last year, and that's about it. And 7.0, exactly the same rating. But Chelsea offered me 30.5 million. He had a year left on his contract as well, and he's been kind of bugging me for more playing time / wage increase. It kind of just annoyed me a little bit to the point where I essentially told Chelsea, if you pay me a decent amount of money, he can go. He actually did have a release clause, I believe. There's a potential add-on, which I don't think is ever going to happen, but he had a release clause of about 40-ish million, so they kind of got close to it. We'll stay in the vein of people who had 1 year left on their contract, and one of those was Eric Avalos. As much as I hate to see him go as well, they paid me a decent amount of money. A lot of these people obviously are worth more there because they've now got longer contracts than they had here. But yeah, he had a year left on his contract. He also has a tendency to be terrible in big games and a competitive streak. And despite being 6'8", I feel like his jumping reach has actually gone up since he's gone to Everton. I swear he only had 15 with us. A decent performer, obviously played a lot for us the year that he came in, played the same the year after, but last year the arrival of Morato did shift him down the pecking order. It was fair to move him on. Everton paid me 18.5 million for a player who in our squad was worth around 10-ish with the contract he had remaining. It's not a bad deal. It's a shame to see him go. And similarly, Dennis Castillo. This one I wasn't sure about doing, but then I realised we had Ismail Nasri. You can see him here in the comparison, sort of waiting in the wings to be that backup. Only half a star behind Dennis and with a lot more potential. So we had that effectively Stuart Smith equivalent on the right-hand side, ready to be the backup to Taberio this year. So in a way, Dennis was kind of getting in the way of his development. And now Nasri does have a work permit. That's perfectly fine. Again, another player who doesn't like big games, but at least he's consistent and brave. But the 7 tackling never let him down because, of course, tackling doesn't matter in this year's game because they'll just tackle regardless. But 24.5 million Hertha Berlin paid. 24.5. He's not even worth that for them. And last but not least, the one, he's got a very specific transfer value. Is he already requesting to leave? I don't know about his situation there, but they did buy Baba Mansley off us for £51 million, which is a lot of money for a player who was a squad player for us at that point in his career. Never really a bad performer as such, but again, had moved down the pecking order. We acquired him for 10 million a long time ago in the hope that he would develop, and develop he did. But again, he was in a kind of a similar boat to Thierry Small, where he was starting to kick off about playing time and all that jazz. He does like big games, actually, but we kind of capped out his potential. He was never going to get better at this, and he had become a squad player. And it wasn't really a standout attribute, other than you can still see the passing technique vision. So he's obviously a good playmaker, but he didn't have like that standout quality that put him ahead of other people, despite the ability. So you got players like Szymanski, who's obviously got the set pieces. Babamansi doesn't have that kind of thing. And considering we sold him for 51 million, pretty good going. Especially considering I'm pretty certain he had a release clause to certain teams of 40-something million, which clearly got bypassed. Inbound, these people don't really matter too much, but these have just been confirmed in this particular summer window because they've turned 18. So hey, I'm going to go with future central defender, along with Gerard, who's come from Getafe and now gone on loan straight to Cardiff because I don't think he got a work permit. He must have done. Actually, he's at Cardiff. But the big news is we did acquire Dominik Szoboszlai, which is why, I think, in part, Leipzig went for Babamansi as the sort of direct replacement. 16 corners, better on his other foot to Szymanski. So we now have a 16 corner taker for both sides. We saw how much better we were at corners last year. Now we get that from both sides. And we bought him for basically exactly the same price that Leipzig then bought Babamansi off us for. We might as well just done a player exchange, to be honest. Weirdly, he's rated less good in our squad than he was on the scout report. I don't fully know what happened there, but he was a 4-star player when we scouted him, and now he's in our squad, he's a 3-star player. But you do have to remember we do have a couple of world-class players in our squad that are somewhat skewing star ratings. He's been paid 100 grand a week. It's a lot. And that just leaves our new highest transfer? I believe this is the highest transfer we've ever paid for anyone, but Patrice Atamenge I'm going with for pronunciation purposes. Club Bruges via the way of AS Monaco. £59 million we paid up front in total. The physicals I love. 18 jumping reach and only 10 heading, but 18 jumping reach. 6'3", left back, can play centre back. A lot of positional versatility, actually. But he's not bad going forward. He's pretty good on the defensive side. His mentals aren't awful and his physicals are fantastic. 90-odd million he's worth in our squad. Again, fairly high wage, but we're at that stage now as a club. And I'm actually bringing you the Community Shield and the European Super Cup, which is between ourselves and the winners of the Europa League, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Yep, our old nemesis, still finding ways to annoy us at any possible opportunity. So for the Community Shield, there's actually a whole bunch of people who were injured in the off-season. But yeah, the Club World Championship happened. For a moment, I kind of regretted not bringing you it because it looked like it was going to be okay because it actually had proper training in between the games. However, by the second game, everyone was utterly knackered. So there's still clearly something broken in that system. So thankfully, we were knocked out by Barcelona in the first knockout round. So we didn't have to go through that travesty much longer. But in case you're wondering why players like Szoboszlai are regarded as 3 stars, it's because there's people like Ciro Fernandez who are 4.5, worth over 100 million now. Yeah. Positioning teamwork could go slightly better, but yeah, 19, acceleration 17. He's good and still on 22 grand a week. But the team for this is Sanchez in goal because Avalos not quite fully fit. Miles will not pop him in here. Atamenge, a left back, our new first choice left back. Morato, Ampadu, Nasri right back because Tibero has a knock that isn't even at returning to fitness stage. Szoboszlai and Markovic because Hesham's on returning to fitness. Szymanski, Fernandez, Pereira because Carlos Eduardo's on returning to fitness. Uribe just because he's better than Prieto at this stage. Tibero, Segovia and Blasmarty all injured as things stand. You will notice, eagle-eye viewers, Jared Randall is not on loan this year. He will be playing a backup defensive role in this particular. He's still regarded as a breakthrough prospect, but he'll be playing a defensive role. He's finally come good. He had a lovely season at Troyes last year. 20 million we paid for him at Newcastle ages ago. Now finally feels worth it. He essentially steps into the absence of Avalos, the defender. So yeah, this episode is essentially us enjoying the company of old foes. Arsenal, a team that we've played in many a competition up to this point, have replaced the outbound retirement of an aging Duvan Zapata who finally did retire at the age of 37 or 38 and replaced him with a 36-year-old Romelu Lukaku. One of the most Football Manager things I've ever seen. Their goalkeeper has the number 1, but I think that's just because Ramsdale deliberately takes the number 32. Still their first choice goalkeeper normally. So actually both teams playing with their backup goalkeeper. I think actually ironically now we've got more players who aren't new gens in our first 11 because of Szoboszlai than normal. And Sanchez actually. But it is an early corner for them. Odegaard on the ball. Leica to Saka. Atamenge hoofs it away. Tell you what, I'm going to hopefully a 6'3" man with 18 jumping reach on the near post because that's where left backs normally are because they're normally the shortest players. Might need to look actually at defensive corner positions because of that acquisition now, but I suppose I won't be faffing around changing it every single time Atamange doesn't play. I'll just leave it as is, probably. Fernandez, I know I could micromanage it. Pereira, Markovic, just staying in the air forever. Uribe misses, not gonna lie. As noble as that banner was in the background, I was offended by the lack of a comma. If you care, share. Well, it's not exactly the most thrilling games, but it is the Community Shield. Dest on the ball. Doesn't get it to Lukaku. Sorry, Romelu, your name just suddenly didn't work in my mouth for whatever reason. The graph is somewhat confusing because Arsenal are inexplicably playing in their away kit despite being listed technically as the home team here. But we are the ones in red, so we are the ones in red on the graphs as well. So it looks like we're having the better of the games so far, but it is Tomiyasu on the ball. I am always surprised, actually, how much of Arsenal's team is still Arsenal's team. There's Lewis Cook, who actually came by way of Real Madrid. Nice to see him actually get good in this game. He was injured constantly for me in Newcastle and never developed. I think weirdly he still went to Real Madrid in that one, actually, when we sold him. Nazari, Gabriel. But yeah, Gabriel, Tomiyasu, Ramsdale's there, Odegaard's still there, Saka's still there. But this is a new gen, I presume, Rihahi. I think that might be a new acquisition. I don't remember him last season. Dest now. They do still have Tierney, but not playing today. Tomiyasu. Oh, that's not great from Sanchez. You can see why you're saying... Oh, that reminds me. Season preview. Avalos is apparently the best goalkeeper in the league. He's in the Media Dream 11. So, yeah, that's a status to live up to for this season. A man who got 8 clean sheets in the entire season amongst all the competitions, or 9 maybe, is apparently the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. A lot of their players are really tired, and maybe they got further in the Club World Championship. The Club World Cup was won by Interlagos. Yeah. Things went wild a little bit. They beat Bayern Munich in the groups, I think. Oh, it's 2-0. They beat Real Madrid in the knockout stages, along with another, probably PSG in the final. I can't remember who actually got through to the end, but yeah, I'm not fully certain what happened there. But 2 Brazilian teams actually beat 2 European teams in the group stages and knocked them out as a result. Interlagos beat Bayern and knocked them out, and then another team beat Dortmund. So both the German teams got knocked out straight away. Lucky sods. Szymanski to Atamenge. Szoboszlai. How I could have done with as few games as possible there. Szoboszlai back to Sanchez. Yeah, so trying to win the Club World Cup is not something I care about until that is fixed. We'll see next year, I guess. But until I get word that it actually works, I will not give a single flying fig about that. Szymanski clean in here, and that's not one of the best finishes I've ever seen. It was onside. I wasn't sure. So yeah, Arsenal are FMing us right now, apparently. Oh, Nazari's injured. That's great. We don't have a spare right back. In case you're wondering where I've been, by the way, should have opened with that. I've just been somewhat ill. Voice is mostly back at this point. Stuart Smith will come on just because he could sort of do it. There was a weird moment in the Club World Championship when I did quick pick, and it put Enrique Avalos, the goalkeeper, up front because he actually is capable to half a gold star there. Yep, no idea. Szymanski to Atamenge. Szymanski hooks it to the back post, and Uribe's there and reduces the deficit. That wasn't a word. Deficit. Excuse my inadvertent half French, I guess. Atamenge. Szymanski. Yeah, I might be able to speak again. Literally. Words apparently not quite working. Szymanski. So this is probably going to be a bit of a bumper episode, I guess, but there's going to be less of them this season, so I'm not as bothered. Just a chance to really talk about the save as a whole and FM22 as a whole, I guess, because we will be fully focused and laser focused on winning the Premier League this year. 14-point deficit to make actually up. So against Arsenal, this is a good litmus test in a weird way. Never really understood that as a phrase because litmus test only kind of tests 2 outcomes. Universal indicator test would be the better one as a phrase. Fernandez not having a good game here. Romelu Lukaku is a threat in the air, and you want me to use Ampadu to mark him, not the man with 18 jumping reach. Curious. Moin Saunders on then. Markovic hasn't had a good game either. Passion for Markovic. We can't replace Atamenge now because Stuart Smith came on as a right back. Nazari's still on the field. Why didn't it do the Smith change when I asked it to? I mean, I'm glad that hasn't punished us yet, but so many little problems with FM22. Well, that might be skin related, I don't know. I mean, he's still got that header. Still chasing down Tierney now. Bless him. I don't know what his injury is. I don't know if that was his fault or not. Could have done more in getting Tierney, but then again, he should have been marked too. Yes, proceed with the tactical changes. You're supposed to have done them 10 minutes ago. Lukaku down to Paqueta. Not an easy sentence, Sanchez. Let's just hoop straight over. Pereira doesn't get on the end of it. Of course, we're not playing Carlos Eduardo today. Player of the season last year. Gabriel, Lika, Varela. Now to Tomiyasu. Now, what are they doing with this? I know I'm going to hate it eventually. Oh no, Ampadu gets in the way. Smith to Hesham. Back out again. Forward to Szymanski this time. That's a red card for strike. Strike 1, clearly. Somewhat confused as to where he was playing. He was playing centre-back. I think Lika's moved up to defensive midfield. That's what happened there. He'd actually just come on for Lewis Cook and immediately sent off again, basically. Oh, God. Well, I mean, if Sanchez wanted the first team, I have no more substitutes. Do I have more substitutes? If I got more substitutes, I'll bring people on. Oh, I do have more substitutes than this. I mean, it's 4 minutes. Carlos Eduardo will just play shadow striker. I would swap him and Saunders around, but I think we actually were the better side despite losing 4-1. Sanchez getting out of that with a 6.5 is a travesty almost. Yeah, Riahi's a new gen. Yeah, 2.23 XG for us, 1.59 for them. 4-1. Of course it is. 5-6 days. That's fun. Tabeiro might be back. The European Super Cup finals being held in Kazakhstan. Sure, why would it be? Both of our young strikers, Fernandez and Uribe, are having this back and forth with me. Oh, I might want a new contract. All right, let's talk about new contract. Oh, it's fine, no worries. Either you do or you don't. Oh, that reminds me. Barnet, our affiliate, just got smashed by Wimbledon. I lost one of my affiliates out of the blue over the summer. Brno just suddenly became no longer an affiliate of mine. You know, the Czech team. Just out of nowhere. No reasoning on it, just they are no longer an affiliate. Nothing to do with the takeover, you know, terminating the link or anything like that. Just they didn't, it was over. So, of course, I went out and got a new one, and I got one from Colombia. Seemed fitting. Deportivo Cali. Not that it matters, of course. Not that it's ever going to factor in anymore, I now realise. But, I'm sorry, a 32-year-old Ruben Diaz has been listed by Manchester City. I could just see it at the bottom here. I mean, I know he's 32, but 59 million. We paid over 100 in Newcastle. I mean, if we're going to try and make a Premier League push. So, in what I think is actually a blessing in disguise, but momentarily annoying, following the final of the Champions League, Markovic picked up a yellow card which put him out of the next European League game, which turns out to be this. So it means he'll be fine for the actual Champions League group stages again, but it means he's out of this, which means we do have to run with Hesham and Szoboszlai in the middle. We don't have any other midfielders at this point in time other than Angelo on the bench. Stuart Pražák can play slightly deeper if necessary, and our wonder kid Nugent that came through last season, O'Shawn Williams, still isn't good, but he's on the bench. Avalos in goal, Otamendi remains at left back, Murati Ampadu, Tabeiro comes in at right back. Not fully fit technically, but he has to play. We don't have any other right backs. Hesham, Szoboszlai, Szymanski remains. Front three remain. Actually, Pereira for Eduardo. Because of course we go full squad, and he needs a number. He wants 20. We don't have it. Take 40. It's 220s. Enjoy it. I also thought Markovic was our club captain. I think at some point I may have said he was captain in a previous video. That was a lie. The captain is technically Prieto when he plays, but the majority of the time, of course, because he doesn't always play, the captain is actually Tabeiro because of his 20 leadership. But Prieto gets the captaincy just because he's been here longer. But Markovic will be the long-term captain in my mind. Cambiasso, that's a name with a legacy. Koulibaly, Avalos. I think the legacy Cambiasso is double S. What Prowse is at Wolves? Oh yeah, he left Arsenal. Ait Nuri. I was tempted. I'm not going to lie. But they kind of wanted too much for a Ward Prowse at the age of the years, if that kind of makes sense. It was more cost-effective to get Szoboszlai, effectively. I think they still wanted like 35 million for a 32/30-year-old, 33-year-old Ward Prowse at this point. That's a ridiculous goal. Sure, we'll watch it again. An L? What are you doing, traitor? Where did we have an L this year? Did we have an L this year at all? I don't know if we did. I feel like we had him somewhere. Have him in Newcastle, maybe? Eduardo? Oh, that should have been a goal. I'm not going to lie. With the way the Wolves have gone about their business this year in real life, they've suddenly ended up on my potentials for beta save, but that's kind of my potentials if I want to waver on what my original plan was. I think I'm sticking to my original plan. Szymanski, oh, that could have been a good goal, but nope. Iñaki Peña, good save. A little bit unfortunate to have conceded a wonder goal, but, you know, that happens. It's more annoying that happened in the first couple of minutes. We just can't let that shake our resolve at all. Ampadu getting a little bit free roam. Uribe pulls it into Eduardo, who clearly took the summer off. It's Szymanski over the free kick. Eduardo, the back post. Why have you headed that down? Sorry, is that Nunes? Yeah, that is Darwin Nunes. Nunes? I don't know how you're supposed to put Nunes. Do you want to anglicise it? I thought he was at Newcastle in this save. Maybe he was at Newcastle in the Hanover save. Well, it's clearly offside. The goalkeeper's not reacted at all, and neither has he celebrated. So, come on. This is something that needs to be sorted in FM23. Just, we know it's offside. Get on with it. Was he at Newcastle in this? He was. 73 million he's moved for. His value was insane at 30. Oh yeah, they're now simply just relying on this guy. Yeah, I can see why he left now. I forgot about the monster league gen that Newcastle acquired. Still, that monster new gen's not quite as performed for Newcastle as well as Carlos Eduardo has for us, and he's like a good solid 1.5 stars worse than Jose Elias. So it's not always about the attributes. Not always about the attributes. Ampadu, Tabeiro, Szoboszlai hangs back to find Fernandez. That's Menge. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Fernandez, oh my Lord Hesham. I've criticised you in recent years, or every year really, because you've never been fantastic. I don't think he's ever had an average rating of 7 for the season. I'm not sure we've ever seen him do something like this before. Well, that's a lovely finish. 1-1, one wonder goal apiece. I'll take it. Gets us back in it at least. He's not exactly been prolific on either front. Like, the assists aren't, for someone who plays advanced playmaker the past season, weren't exactly there. But that is literally his battering goals in other competitions. 8th goal for the club. 2 in the first year, 3 in the second year, 1 that year, and then 1 last year. For a player with as much quality as Hesham has, the fact he's only scored 8 goals is baffling, as Eduardo scores a goal from the template I was expecting. It was Szoboszlai on that corner, obviously taking corners from that side with his right foot to make them in-swingers, as they should be. Szymanski will take the corners on the other side with his left foot, and we've scored 2 goals technically in the 46th minute, either side of half-time. There's one for statisticians to enjoy. Atamenge, Morato, Szoboszlai, Atamenge to Fernandez again. Obviously back to his left back. Okay, going backwards again, but Szoboszlai, Szymanski. Can he find the killer ball to Fernandez? Can he get the finish? Ooh. Ciro Fernandez's 3rd goal of the season. Did he score in the Club World Championship? Because the Club World Championship is awkwardly arranged over the season. Like, part of it is in the previous season, part of it's counted in this season. So I think Fernandez may have scored in the bit that was on this side, which is annoying. All of a sudden, we started playing as well as we can, and control's gone to our side. Tiberio's now taken up. Can we stop injuring my right backs, please? I mean, Stuart Smith comes on this time, and actually comes on this time. Szymanski back. How the hell did Uribe get that in? And it's making me confirm it again. How the hell did Uribe get this in? How all happened so fast? I didn't really see what happened. It was a header. But the angle, that was a ridiculous angle to get that in at. All right, so Praza on the... Actually, 4-1. Get the new gen on. Get our wonder kid on. Our homegrown wonder kid on. Go on. Uribe's only got the 1 goal. I'm just thinking about other substitutions we can make further up the pitch. I wonder how many I can actually make. Oh, I can only make 3 substitutions total, so Prieto's on for Uribe. Szymanski, just after he scored as well. Interesting clearance. That's a corner. So in the Community Shield, I was allowed a bench of 7 people, but 5 substitutes. In the European Super Cup final, I'm allowed 12 people on the bench, but 3 substitutes. Can you see what the problem is? Commit one way or the other, lads. Either have a small bench and fewer substitutes, or a big bench and more substitutes. You can't do it both ways. But 4-1, one of the rare times we've actually bested Wolves, it would be Tiberio to lift this, I imagine, as captain for the day. Although Prieto came on. So I don't know, actually, if that's Prieto, the one holding the trophy. Because I don't know if he assumes captainship when he gets on the pitch or not. Hang on. Who's about to do the cartwheel here? That's number 32. We'll find out afterwards who that is. Might be Stuart Smith, judging by the number. It is Stuart Smith. Fortunately, I didn't bring our wonder kid on early enough to get him a rating. But, yeah, that potential. Sorry, 2 seasons ago. It was the 2027 year. And if anything, we did those results the right way around. Lose in the first one, win the second one, take that morale boost into the actual league season. Wow, you get a decent chunk of money for winning that. So is this for Szoboszlai doing what I'm expecting of him? Of course, they won't pay on here because that wasn't a league game, but our actual league season begins with Southampton and then, of course, Arsenal, because why would they leave us alone for any period of time? February looks horrible. And we end with Sheffield United, which is somewhat appropriate. But yeah, Southampton finally re-promoted to the Premier League, thanks in part to Jan Neubert, of course, who we loaned to them last year. But you may be aware, you can just about see it here, they've been stuck in the Championship for ages. In fact, they had 3 playoff campaigns in a row that they failed on, and 2 seasons where they didn't even do that. They actually got promoted from the playoffs in the end anyway. As soon as we loan a player to them, they get promoted. Can't be a coincidence. We loan a player to Preston, they win League One. We loaned a player to Lincoln a couple of years ago, they get promoted. Whoever we loan people to, they do well. Just saying. Anyway, I will see you much later in the season. Like I say, it's going to be a much more truncated season just to make sure we can get it all in before F1 23. So I'm not rushing around at the very death just to try and get that all sorted in time. I don't want to just abruptly end. I want to give it the proper end, as much of a proper end as I can. But if you enjoyed this, do like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal by now. And actually, let me know who you think would be a good beta save, because I know what I'm doing, but I'm intrigued to know what you think would be a good save. Let me know. Until next time, ta-ra.